Live from the City of Angels, Saturday morning. Talk about rare. Well, I mean, listen, when we have a film like this in the marketplace that's absolutely gutting records and doing monstrous numbers, and of course we're going to go live. We're talking about Deadpool Wolverine, $96 million on Friday alone. Here's the latest THR. I'm going to use some of their stuff. I'm going to use the Disney email, which just was received in the inbox, and we're going to try to take this Friday number and figure out exactly where it's going to go over the weekend. This will be one of the biggest MCU openings ever. Remember, R-rated film, and I told you guys, how many times have we had this discussion here on MMT, where I said that R rating's not going to prohibit this film from making serious bank. It's going to do a number that a lot of people are not expecting, because this is almost right an Avengers kind of movie. You've got Deadpool, you've got Wolverine, you've got essentially a version of a No Way Home. You've got a number of big characters in this film. That's why this film was going to pop. And the fact that we've been waiting all summer for this. Remember, it's supposed to come out in late May, and now in late July. The anticipation built and built and built. Disney, for once, I got to give them credit here. They nailed the build on this film. So often studios show it 2 weeks early, 3 weeks early, hell, months early. We saw that with The Fall Guy. What happens? People start to forget about it. The initial rush, that surge of interest dissipates, and then we end up with a film that flops. That didn't happen here, and it's not happening this weekend. Here's where I see this film going. You can see THR says this thing is at 195 to 205. That's after 96 million on Friday. Now, I'm going to pull out my calculator. Remember, as we did this last night on this very stream, I told you guys that we were going to get to a number that would be very high based on a multiple. Let me explain a multiple to you real quickly. So this thing makes 96 million here today. Then we need to figure out what the Sunday number is going to be, the 3-day weekend, and you look at prior films and you try to figure out using the multiple that film did and then imprint that on this, and then we get our numbers. So let me just walk you through. If we get to a Deadpool 1 multiple, 2.79 was the multiple on that. Friday times 2.79 gives us the weekend. Well, here we go. Then that number here would be $260 million plus if it does a Deadpool multiple. Deadpool 2 was about a 2.4. That would get us in the $220 million range. Now, if it does No Way Home multiple, it'll end up being about 205, 210. So it should be at least over 200 million. How high above that is really a wild card, because no one knows for sure. This is not an easy film to peg. As you can tell, you've got the R rating. You got audiences that love this thing at 97, 98% Rotten Tomatoes, A cinema score. That means word of mouth is glowing, like I told you would happen when I saw it on Monday. All the critics who said, oh, it's the worst movie ever made. Oh, yeah. Okay. Listen, watch more movies, first of all. Second of all, these movies aren't for you. Okay. That's what we talk about here in MMT. The ability to enjoy a film like a Deadpool Wolverine and then call the number one film of the year, Handling the Undead, which is totally completely inaccessible for a lot of people, and I get that, but that's what we offer, is the ability to evaluate films within what they're trying to do. So let's look here. If we get to 96, we already here today. We're going to go to the email from Disney momentarily and go around the globe and tell you where it's going. In fact, let's do it right now. 96 here, and we look at international already 115.1 at $211 million globally, all in just through Friday. So this thing should be at 500 million tomorrow. When we go live tomorrow morning for Breaking Box Office, we should be at around $500 million. This is a $1 billion film. I called it forever ago. Some of you are like, no, last one only made 700. Guys, this is $1 billion. You've got Jackman, you've got Reynolds. This is Deadpool on steroids. You got to see these things, man. That's what we try to tell you so often here on MMT. You got to be able to see these things. They're right there. You know, you have to understand the marketplace. You have to understand that this film was building to really a perfect crescendo for Disney as we came in over the past several weeks. quickly on domestically, Deadpool Wolverine, 96 million opening day. They say here a path of 195 to 205. I think there's a path to 220 or higher easily. I just went through why. If it multiples like Deadpool 2, even this film will be at 220 million plus. So that's what we do, man. We actually just specialize in forecasting the future. That's what we do. I should just call this channel that. MMT, forecasting the future. That's what we do. We're very good at it. Also, the highest opening weekend for Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Sean Levy. It would rank among the top 10 openings of all time and marks the 6th highest Friday ever at the box office. But it's It can't do that number at Kids are seeing the movie. In fact, in a second, we're going to go around and look at the AMC ticket sales for today. And I promise you, I haven't looked at them yet. I guarantee you that they're looking good for the matinees. And who goes to matinees? Kids. All right, continuing along with the email here as we look at audience reactions at 97% Rotten Tomatoes, A Cinema Score, 5 out of 5 on Post Track. Hello, I told you guys A+, 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 Post Track. That's the other Cinema Score kind of audience ranking system when they come out and they tell you if they like the film or not. So guys, listen, this film kicks ass. Forget about the money. This film is exactly what it's supposed to be. It is like eating a gigantic vat of cotton candy for 2 hours. And sometimes that's okay. I mean, it might not be the most nutritious meal you'll ever have, but you'll at least enjoy most of the time munching that, what is it, heated sugar that is wrapped around a paper towel holder. Internationally, Deadpool Wolverine opened yesterday in 3 more markets, including China and India. 51 markets to date. As of the end of Friday, we're talking 115.1. We estimate the first 3 days overall results are 77% ahead of Deadpool, excluding China. 57% above Deadpool 2, excluding China, excuse me. And in the same suite of markets at current rates. Territories. Let's go through where it is so far through Friday in different countries. And we go with UK, 11.4, Mexico, 9.9, China, 8.3, Australia, 5.9, France, 5.4 million, Germany, 5.1, Brazil, 5, Italy, 4.7, Italy, make that Korea 4, Spain 3.9, the vaunted other countries 51.5, total of 115.1, and you can see open number 1 in all markets. Latin America, 77% of the market share across the region, second highest opening day of 2024 regionally, which I imagine is behind Inside Out 2. Mexico, second highest opening day of 2024. Brazil, second highest. Argentina, second highest. Europe, number 1, all markets. Second highest Marvel opening day ever in Poland. Highest opening day of 2024 in Poland and South Africa. And on and on and on. I could go through these things all morning. I'm not going to do that to you because yeah, we get it. We get it, Weber. Let's just talk about where this thing's heading. $96 million here today. And then we're going to end up with at least $210 million stateside. I don't see how this film does not get at that number. Remember, if it multiples like Deadpool 2, it goes to 220 plus. Deadpool 1 would be 260 million. I think this film goes at least 225. We'll find out tomorrow morning. Again, I'm just trying to get a gauge of the marketplace and use all of the information I have in front of me, such as I mentioned, that Cinema Score, the Rotten Tomatoes score. We're looking at a film that people love. Let's go to AMC and check some of the sales here this afternoon. This film's killing in PLF. And this is the other thing that's important to note here. This weekend, Twisters lost the majority of those premium large format screens. Those are the IMAX, the Dolbys, the Primes, and on and on. But I will say Twisters does have Prime this weekend at AMC Burbank. So I imagine it has some prime screens around the country. So it didn't lose everything, but it's dropping hard. It's going to be over 50% drop on Twisters. So it's not going to be quite that Barbenheimer, right? We mentioned that it's definitely going to have 2 big films, and that's what we're going to see when you add Twisters into this weekend. Box office wise, we're looking at one of the best weekends we've seen in forever, because you've got one film doing a monster number and another film doing a pretty solid second weekend. But it's not going to fall like we saw Oppenheimer drop like 30%, 20%, 10%. It was so low, the drops. Twisters is going to drop harder and faster because it's not the same as Oppenheimer, right? Oppenheimer was a phenomenon that I don't think, man, it's Nolan. I mean, Nolan is a unique filmmaker at the box office. He's a singular director. You just don't see films like an Oppenheimer go in and do the damage they did over the long haul. Almost $1 billion on that film. Let's check the noon IMAX right down the street at the #1 AMC in the entire country. My home theater, AMC Burbank. Looky, that is pretty much sold out. That's at 12 o'clock. And you're telling me kids aren't going? These are all adults? Guys, these are all adults that are at the movie. I don't think so. This is 100% kids in there. Parents are taking their kids. Kids play violent ass video games. Kids listen to hardcore music, right? Stuff that they shouldn't necessarily, right? If they were kids. In my day, there was the parents that were angry against the rappers. There were people saying this is too violent. Go watch Siskel and Ebert. A lot of their reviews were trashing a film based on like an ethical standpoint, which I have at time to time when I mention like a Terrifier, some films, but these days, parents are like, that's fine. Let's just go watch Deadpool Wolverine. We'll watch NSYNC, Bye, and watch Deadpool shred skulls and disembowel people for the entirety of that song. I love that opening. By the way, terribly made. One of the worst made movies ever. Dude, if you don't know when you watch that title sequence that that's solidly executed, then I can't help you. These people are literally like blind. I'm not kidding you. These critics, so many of these critics, they don't have the gene. They don't possess it. They pretend to possess it. They don't have it. And when you don't have something, you don't have a skill, then I can't help you. Like, you're never going to get it. A lot of these critics are never going to get it, man. It's like we talk about all the time when we talk about sports. If I want to play in the NBA, I'm never going to play there. I'm not good enough. I don't have, first of all, the height. I'm 6 foot, little under. But I'm not going to be able to go in there and dunk. Maybe in the old days, I got a pretty good jump. But my point is you either have the traits or you don't. Most critics these days are lacking not 1 or 2 traits. They're lacking literally 5, 6, 7 traits. I'm sorry I got to shred critics again. That's what I do, man. I live in a world. I have to coexist with clowns in this space. Quite literally unremarkable, untalented clowns. 2 o'clock Dolby, and we're looking at another slam. No kids in that movie. There's not a single kid. That's all adults at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. Oh, man, I'm just making fun of everybody who's like, kids aren't going to see this. Okay, let's just check the Real D 3D 230. No kids in this one. That one actually is not as big. Remember, these PLF screens are everything. Let's look at Universal IMAX. I'm telling you, man, if you don't have PLF on your film, you're fucked. I mean, look at this. This is IMAX Universal, one of the biggest screens in LA, and you're talking about what is that, about an 85% full. Again, if you've ever been to IMAX Universal, those of you here in LA, those first few rows are terrible. You can't see anything. You're looking at a nostril. It's so big, you don't want to be up there. These things are slammed. We're going high. We're going 220 on this. We're going $220 million on this film because I see a bunch of people in seats and a bunch of kids going to see it on a Saturday matinee. The R means nothing. It just means nothing. Just disregard it. And I think a lot of people don't understand that that's what you have to do. You can't listen to some of these people. Yeah, movie theaters are not dead. Shaking like, listen, Furiosa is a great film. I think it's one of the best films of the year. Huge disappointment from a box office standpoint, no question about it. But I'm not going to back off the fact that I believe it's a very, very strong film. I think it's better than Fury Road. I know I'm alone on that. That's fine. I don't care. That's how I operate. But I'm not calling it the worst made movie of the year when you have Madam Web and countless other shit films this year. You're going to tell me that Deadpool Wolverine's one of the worst made movies of the year. These people are not to be taken seriously. You shouldn't even listen to them. First of all, we told you, how many times did you? They're chin-stroking knobs. Well, let me see if this film fits into my intellectual capacity. Fuck you. Dude, you speak for nobody. These people are literally the biggest dweebs you've ever seen. Fall Guy is, listen, I'm not doing it every time. Every time I was just going to do a box office stream this morning. Every time I have to drag the pretentious, relates to nobody film Twitter knobs every single time. Fall Guy was another huge disappointment. You look at Fall Guy, and that's a film that's not great. I mean, that's the thing about Fall Guy, in addition to the fact that it didn't do what we expected it to do, given the fact you've got Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in that film. coming off of Barbie and Oppenheimer. You've got Barbenheimer in one film, and that film just came out and did not do anywhere near what we expected. But when you watch the film, you understand why. Guys, Deadpool Wolverine destroys Fall Guy. If someone, listen, guys, let me explain. If someone's out there saying Fall Guy's better than Deadpool Wolverine, or let's pick anything else that's not, Twisters is definitely not better than Deadpool Wolverine. There's a lot of commercial crap that we get. Look at Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Look at a lot of these films that we get that are these McDonald's films. This is good McDonald's, okay? This is like special menu McDonald's. That's what this film is. It gives you exactly what you want. So I don't know why people are dragging whoever they are. Remember what I said. Anyone who hammers this film likely is zero fun in real life, because you're not going to have fun with a film that is as giddily insane as this thing if you are a miserable son of a bitch when you are at home. And there's a lot of people in the film space that are. I'm telling you, I said this, I'll do it again. The level of self-loathing in film Twitter is so high. Like, if we were to register that, you wonder why you get the reviews you do. I mean, these people don't even like themselves. So it's like, well, of course you're not going to like a movie that's as much fun as this. I took my 8-year-old kids to the 10:30 showing of Deadpool last night. Shake, you are a great dad. Can I tell you right now? I don't know you, but I like how you roll. And they enjoyed it. They loved it. No, you're not a terrible parent. The kids are going to remember that forever. They'll certainly remember the NSYNC Bye 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 title sequence. That's the worst movie ever made. But they're going to also enjoy the fact that their dad took them to a movie at 10:30 at night that featured gonzo violence and was out of control. I love it. More of this, please. Listen, I mean, I think you at this point, kids are exposed to so much. Look at the opening ceremony from the Olympics, for God's sake, guys. I'm not even commenting on that this morning. What is this train wreck shit over there? I'd rather the kids watch Deadpool for 24 hours straight than sit through the opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics, given what I just saw. What is this bastardality? Whatever that word is. Bestiality. One of them will hit. Let's see what else we have. Worldwide press run that Hugh Jackman and Reynolds did for this movie was beyond amazing. Listen, that's at that build we talked about on the way in here, is that when you have a studio that handles the build for a film as well as they did here for Deadpool Wolverine, they didn't peak too early. And we've dragged Universal, we've dragged Paramount, we've dragged Disney in the past for having a film that's due in weeks or months, and then you're doing all of the stuff that they were doing last week, a week and a half ago, and they didn't screen it till Monday night. These studios that screen these films like a month early are killing their films. Fall Guy was one of those films. I think King of the Planet of the Apes went early. A lot of these films are screened too early. You want to drop them the week they are available for you to watch. So that's how you build the word of mouth and get the excitement. And then here you capture the zeitgeist and you end up with a film that's going to end up at $220 million plus, at the worst 210 for an R-rated film. Hello, I told you guys it wouldn't matter. This will be one of the biggest MCU films of all time. In fact, let me pull that list up. I had it up last night on the update. Let me see if I can find it here. Bang. Let me share this. Let me go in here and then share this tab, and here it comes right now. These are the top MCU debuts of all time. Number one is Avengers Endgame at 357.1. We'll never see that again. We're never going to have another Avengers Endgame. Okay, I can tell you right now, watching that Captain America trailer for next year's, that looks terrible. It really looks bad. Like, listen, if I hammer that film, it's probably deserved, because anytime I do, it's deserved. I don't just pull out and start blading something because I have to legitimately hate it. That film does not look good. Now, I could be wrong. When I go in, I'll go to zero and we'll level a scale and we'll say this film is whatever it is. But that film looks bad. 260.1 for No Way Home. Infinity War 257.7, Avengers 207.4. I think we're looking at the fourth biggest film here. I think we get above 207.4. I think it's 220. So at 220, we're going to talk about the fourth biggest MCU film ever. And remember, the big thing about this film that's going to be huge for this is that it has the rest of the summer to run. There's nothing in its way, and the only product in its way is going to really be Alien Romulus, and that's another R-rated, obviously horror, if you want to call it that, sci-fi horror film. And then you look at at Alien Romulus that's a Disney film. So Disney doesn't even care, right? I mean, that's the thing is Disney is killing it, okay? Disney has Inside Out 2, the highest grossing animated film of all time now at $1.4+ billion, maybe 1.5 by the end of this weekend. Then you look at Deadpool Wolverine, that's going to get to $1 billion. And then you're looking at Alien Romulus, that's going to come in and do a really solid number. And I think if it's great, if it's good, very good or great, then we're going to pop it even higher. But even without it being either very good or great, and I trust in Feedy. I trust in, or is it Feed? I think it's Feedy. I trust in him based on that Evil Dead remake. That's a good remake. His, not that second one. That second one was terrible. The Evil Dead, the other one that just came out, Evil Dead Rises, oh my God, that film was fucking unbearable. Hated that movie. But his version was really strong. And he's going to have a lot of practical effects. But Disney is killing it. And this is where we go here. What happens? What happened to all the anti-woke channel? Oh, well, you know, the Disney, everything they touch it goes to shit. Well, the Deadpool Wolverine's not woke, and either is Inside Out 2. And he's okay. Yeah, but you just said everything Disney touches. This is why we aren't anti-woke. We're not pro-woke. We are objective. We look at everything. And if a film is, quote, woke and it's hammered, look, again, I'm going to go back to last night's ceremonies. I didn't watch them. I only watched the highlights. What am I watching? Like, that's what the fuck is that? I mean, there's some demented motherfuckers out there when I have to watch that shit. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we have fallen so far. You think I talked about Siskel and Ebert hammering films based on ethics, based on morals. They would watch the Olympic ceremony opening and go, what in the hell? This is trash. And everyone says Weber goes hard on films. He hammers this, hammers that, goes after film Twitter. Go watch Siskel and Ebert. They're nasty. God, they eviscerated shit right and left. So don't tell me Weber's the guy. The problem is we have Gen Z who's like, well, you're being mean and we can't have that. I got to go into my safe space with my blue fucking hair. Like, good God, go away. Like, nobody even needs you in the space. Just disappear. No one's going to miss you and we'll be fine. We're going to carry on. But the thing is don't tell me I'm mean. Don't tell me I go hard. I go hard on pretentious bastards. Okay, that's just what I do. I'm not going to stop. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a box office stream, but then it turns into a therapy session for me. That's what it is. Sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. So listen, this was actually killed. Thank you, Aaliyah. I try. Listen, the thing is I equally hammer the left and the right. So it's like, well, then I don't know what to do. Big comeback from Disney. And again, being objective, you have to say that they are making the right decisions right now. But, it's really important to note that this film is not really MCU. Listen, I have to explain this. Okay. It is MCU, obviously. But the success of this film is not MCU. The success of this film is those characters. So it is, but you know what I'm trying to say. If it was anything other than Deadpool Wolverine, this film would be in trouble because the MCU is not saved. Okay. This film is doing it. But when we get to Captain America, that film's not going to do this. It's not going to be close. I don't even care if it's great. It will not do this. This is a cultural phenomenon based on Reynolds and Jackman and Deadpool and Wolverine, the characters. If you take them out, goodbye, eliminate those characters and give me another MCU film here, and it's just, I don't know, another Thor movie even. We're looking at maybe 110, maybe 100 to show you the importance of this and these characters in this film to Kevin Feige and to Marvel and to Disney, that it was Deadpool Wolverine up next is everything, because this film that's why we're seeing the numbers. It's not MCU this time around. Okay. They did that. They got by on that for so long, especially after Endgame, as we saw when we had these films come in. You've got Eternals, you go, obviously Marvel's at $200 million worldwide. This is bad. Okay, this is like disastrous. We're dead. And then thank God the next bullet in the chamber is Deadpool Wolverine, because if it's not, you're going to be in big, big, big trouble. And Aaliyah, just quickly on that point from the Olympics. Exactly. They wouldn't satire Islam. They would hammer Christianity, because that's what you're allowed to do. I talk about this all the time, is that in this society, you're allowed to hammer the white guy, Christianity, you're allowed to hammer all that, but you can't touch anything else. Remember, I tell you all the time, oh, the other reason Weber's bad, Weber's a white guy. Who fucking thinks like that? Like, if you think like that, you're a broken bitch. It's that simple. You're a broken fucking person. There's no other way to spin it. And if you look at somebody and say, I'm going to dismiss you because you're black, you're white, you're whatever color, but it's okay. It's fair game in their world. Weber's white. We can attack the white guy. We can attack Sean Levy as a director because he's a white guy. That's how these people operate. You know that. Just so you guys know that. You need to understand the mindset of these broken souls. That's not a normal way to operate. These people operate in a very warped mindset. And that's why I don't want any part of them. Film Twitter operates from that mindset all the time. They're a bunch of weirdos. They are literally, Film Twitter might be the biggest collection of misfit toys since the original island of misfit toys in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't want any part of that. As I say every time, I'm going to do it again on the stream. Whenever I walk into a critic screening, I say to myself, if this were a bar, I'm going home with some ass tonight, both sexes. I'm good because these motherfuckers aren't taking any of mine. I mean, I don't have to worry about it. That's why I'm sorry. Because I know that Film Twitter people are, just so you know, Film Twitter, I destroy you every day, and it's fun. I enjoy it. You complete me. You make me the man that I am. So I want to thank you again for that. A few more comments here on this what is it, Saturday morning. It's weird for me to do this. I saw someone say they took their kid to see this, and I'm very proud of you. That's what I want to say. I want to say that anybody who takes their kid to see this film, I'm not judging you as a parent. I'm gonna say you're doing a great job. Jeremy, on Thursday I predicted it would possibly hit $250 million. Looks like it's actually a possibility. Remember, back to the let's go to the calculator. Let's just have some fun with the calculator, okay, guys? I know that's why you're watching. You want to see Weber play with the Google calculator here on a Saturday morning. Let's plug in the number. We have 96, okay? So this is our number for yesterday. 96 million stateside. Remember, 211 already worldwide. 96. Let's just go stateside. Okay, let's do a multiple. Remember what I tell you. The multiple is the Friday number, and then we look at the full weekend, and we try to get whatever that multiple is going to be, and go back and look at Deadpool and Deadpool 2. Deadpool 1, 2.79. Deadpool 2, 2.39. Call it 2.4. Let's call it 2.8 and 2.4. Okay, here we go. Let's start with the Deadpool multiple of 2.8. What's our number? It is 268.8. Okay, let's clear it, and let's go back and put in 96, and let's go ahead and do a 2.4. And now this is the Deadpool 2 multiplier, and there's 230.4. So that means we are over 220 million. Do you guys understand what I'm doing here? Give me a like, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment if you understand what we're doing here. Because I'm trying to explain it. So many people come on here. The thing that we do better than anybody else, and I mean anybody, there's nobody that can compete. It's the champion, and there's everybody like 17 rungs below. As I say, Moneyball. There's the Yankees and the Red Sox, 50 feet of crap, and then the A's. I'm up at the top, and there's the 50 feet of crap, and then everybody in Film Twitter are the A's. Okay, but they're not going to succeed like they did in Moneyball. It's not happening. Listen, Cy and Ape, I'm telling you, we're going to go high, and that's a 230 is just on a base Deadpool 2 multiplier. Dead Boy, thank you. I think it's fair. I think that's fair to say. I know. This is what I love. Have you guys seen that meme? You know, the guy who's like, the raging liberal. That is Film Twitter whenever they see anything with Weber for no reason. Okay, yeah, I just dragged him. I just called him a bunch of misfit toys. But that's not that bad. Really, is that bad that I called them the island of misfit toys, and that if they were in a bar with me, they would be going home with a hooker? I mean, that's not mean. I don't know why does anybody think that's not even mean? That is the Deadline Reporter. I agree. Aaliyah, the Deadline Reporter is like all over the place here. I like Anthony Elisesso, or however you say his last name. I've seen him out. I'm going to remind me next time I see him here in LA, I'm going to tell him he does a good job, but he didn't do a good job on this. He has it at 180, which means this is going to do, that's not even a 2 multiple. Okay. Remember, let's just go and do 96, and then let's just do a 2 multiple. Obviously we're looking at 192. That's the lowest. That's a 2 multiple. That's a terrible multiple. No film does a 2 multiple over the weekend. Even, I told you, I believe that what he called was like a 2-1-1 multiple. Okay. No Way Home. Let me just do that. Let's do that real quick. I know this is thrilling. Calculator time with Weber. Okay, here we go. 96 times 2.11. I believe we're at 210. 202, maybe it's 2. Okay, so we're at least at 200 million if it does a No Way Home-ish multiple. You guys understand what I'm doing here? I think you're too high here. I think you're too high. But yeah, I mean, the thing is what the studios like, back to Leah quickly, the studios like to underestimate this number, because if they underestimate it, then they are going to look better when the real number pops. We're not going to do that. My number right now, I'm going to go with it right now. I'm going to pipe it into I'm going to go with $220 million is what I have on this film. Based on all the different multiples we have in play, I believe word of mouth, I think we're at 220 this weekend. So, and Galapi, you got a 225. You're right there with me. I mean, I think we're in that range. Okay. So that's what we're putting here. We're going to put the gold standard number on 220. If we're under that, it's still fine. It's going to be 200 million. So it's going to be just fine. And here's Des. I just got back from the cinema. I took my 6-year-old son. He loved it. Of course he did. He fucking loved it, Des, because this film kicks ass. Remember, guys, this is a film that will destroy reputations. Critics are already in the gutter. Critics are already getting kicked in their grave. They mean nothing because they don't speak for anybody except for themselves. I know that and they're circle jerk film Twitter nerds. But here's the thing. I know I hammer Twisters, King of the Planet of the Apes, a lot of films, because I have a high standard. This film is perfect for what it is. It is a perfect film for exactly what you want out of it. I mean, yeah, we could change a couple of things. I'd squeeze the runtime. I might up menace the bad girl. I would do a couple things. But the jokes are great. The jokes are hilarious. The fact that a lot of critics don't have the processing power to hit these jokes are flying. These jokes are smart. These jokes are inside Hollywood for a lot of it. I mean, I go back to jokes. Okay, how about that joke where he early on, and this is just this kind of stuff, this is my kind of humor, where he's sitting there and the guy, he's behind the pile and Deadpool's about ready to come out and do the whole title sequence. And the guy's going, come out. And he's like, oh God, death by day player. I'm like, oh, that is Hollywood. That's an extra. Then also the other thing, he goes, give it a beat before we get the extras out of here. That's smart, funny humor. The problem is the critics don't have a sense of humor. Read their tweets. Go read our guy we dragged as a film fraud. Go look at Robert Daniels' tweets. That guy is completely devoid of a real personality. And if you don't have a sense of humor, if you're not an interesting person outside of watching films, you can't even relate to a film like Deadpool Wolverine. Of course, you're going to say it's the worst movie ever, and I hated its misery, because you aren't anything that has to do with having a semblance of an actual life. So you're not going to like that film. You're going to like a chin-stroking, cinephilic, weird, poor things. That's what you're going to like, which actually has more life to it than a lot of the things these people recommend. But you guys understand what I'm saying. If you're talking about somebody who's completely unfun, like if you're having a beer with them at the bar, you'd be like, I got to fucking go. I'm not even going to finish this beer. You are boring me. And it's all about me and my lofty words and how brilliant I am. Go off. Just do your thing, because we don't need this. I don't want any part of that. And that's the problem we have. We have so many people in the film space that don't have any real personality. And when you don't have a personality, it shows in your reviews. You don't like a movie like that. Fall Guy is bad. Okay. A few more minutes on the stream and we'll recap and we'll get ready to roll. Thanks for being here on a Saturday morning. We are live here throughout whenever I decide to do it. Really, tomorrow morning, same thing. We'll do a longer stream looking at the numbers, looking at every country, all that. When we get the actual numbers, it'll be an estimate for Sunday, but you know what I mean? Disney will give us the full number and we'll look at it tomorrow morning about the same time. But this morning, I want to get out here and just explain where we are and where we're headed. Fall Guy's not a good film. I mean, the humor in that film, the unicorn repeatedly, whenever you reuse a joke over and over and over, like look at Deadpool Wolverine, you can say it for a lot of things. There's not a lot of jokes that carry through the entire thing other than the dog, but the dog is central to, Pooch Pool or whatever, it's Dog Pool, whatever his name is. It's central to the original. So it makes sense. But, when you have a film, you go back to, you look at, what was the fucking terrible movie from Warner Bros? I'm already for Shazam. Look at Shazam 2. If you had to watch that film, I feel sorry for you. That film's bad. But remember, they reused the Skittles joke literally within seconds. She goes, taste the rainbow. And 5 seconds later, she's like, taste the rainbow, bitch. And I'm like, that's bad. You don't reuse a joke twice. Deadpool Wolverine doesn't keep hammering the same thing. They at least the jokes vary. The jokes are great. The jokes are hilarious. And again, if you're a critic who has no sense of humor, no personality, you're not going to like the film. It's not hard. It's you guys understand this, right? if you're a miserable soul, you're going to hate Deadpool Wolverine. You'll be like, oh, this film's making me sort of, I don't know, it's annoying me. I want to watch something that's dour like I am. I want to watch something depressing like I am. I want to watch something that's self-loathing like I am. Shazam 2 is terrible. Black Adam's better than Shazam 2, not great. I didn't hate it. The reason I didn't hate that film is because you got The Rock. The Rock, just from physicality standpoint, when you put him into a superhero suit, you're like, this guy's a badass. This guy doesn't need the fake muscles. He's not Shazam. He's not Zach Levi, who's got the foam shit going on here. That's legitimately The Rock. And I think for whatever that, I know that sounds like so like surface level, but it's not. You watch a film and the actor needs to inhabit physically the role that you're asking them to. That's why when you look at Superman and you look at who they've cast, they have to have someone who's at least 6'3", 6'4". You can't have a 5'11" guy. You have to have somebody who's kind of jacked. You hope you don't want to have the fake muscles, but you look at what's his name, Corn and Sweat, who's doing this film. I saw those gym pictures. We talked about it on, and we'll talk about maybe tomorrow night on the Sunday night stream. It's more of that. When I looked at Corn and Sweat's pictures, my boy's juicing because I go to the gym. I've been working out for 20 plus years. I know what it takes. That guy looks like Hardy in Dark Knight. He's a little like bulldog. That's not what Corn and Sweat look like. Corn and Sweat used to be this lanky kind of guy with not a lot of muscle, just just normal looking dude. Now he looks like Bane, and I'm like, that doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you something. Just a little hint for you. You don't all of a sudden go to the gym and start looking like Corn and Sweat in days, weeks, months. It's not even years. It's a long fucking time. He's clearly on some kind of HGH or whatever they call that shit. I don't know. I don't take it. Testosterone stuff. And by the way, I know I post a lot of shirtless pictures. So what? Fucking A. That's why I also do it to rub it in Film Twitter's face that some of us are not Jabba the Hutt. Here's the reality is that I've never touched that shit. You talk about whey protein, creatine, BCAAs, glutamine. These are the base blocks. That's it. Nothing else matters. But I'm just telling you, when I look at Corn and Sweat, I'm like, my boy's taking some shit. My boy's on some stuff. Listen, I think he is. Guys, I can say this stuff. That's why we do the physique critique on Sunday nights. I'm allowed to say these things because I live this stuff. The average critic doesn't live this stuff. Gore doesn't live this shit, okay? I'm not bagging on him because of his health scare. I think he's looking a lot better. Good for him. But I'm just saying these people don't. I live it, and I can talk this stuff because I know it. And that's the difference, and that's what we bring. We are, again, bring it back to the comment from earlier, the gold standard. David, I agree with you. He was the best part. Pierce Brosnan classes up the joint. We talk about actors who come in and class up any joint. And you look at Hugh Jackman in this film. Hugh Jackman, when he has to deliver the emotion that you need in the scene, especially the two scenes, one where he's destroying Deadpool in the Honda Odyssey, and two by the campfire with X-23, you're talking about looking at a true thespian. It's just a shame that he has not had the opportunity to be in great films. He was in that film where he played Gary Hart. It was a political film based on that politician's life. That film was better than it should have been because of Hugh Jackman. I want to see Hugh Jackman in something that is a great film. And I think, as directors go, you need to get this guy in your film. Listen, I also love Greatest Showman. I'll say this a million. I don't care. I'm out in front of this. This would also rankle. Every critic loses their shit whenever I say this. Greatest Showman's better than La La Land for the songs. The songs in Greatest Showman are far superior to the songs in La La Land. As an overall film, I still like Greatest Showman because of what it is. Listen, I understand what Chazelle did with La La Land, and I think that from a directorial standpoint, I really love the film. I love the choice at the end where they don't end up together. That's a great, any kind of movie that you end where the two lovers end up on separate sides is exactly what I want to watch. Up in the Air, for that very reason. Up in the Air, one of my favorite films the past 15 years, because that film ends up with those two not together. I love that finish. I know audiences hate it. They didn't kiss at the end of Twisters. Who fucking cares? We understand it's a relationship. I don't need them to have the cliche kiss in the airport. Audiences sometimes, I really think you guys just need to not expect everything to be hand delivered to you. It's okay if it doesn't finish as perfectly as you maybe wanted it to, but that's just the reality. No. The song, first of all, I can just tell you, Gone Girl, my producer's watching today. Let me tell you something. The songs in Greatest Showman are better. It's not a question. None. This is a good call. He is good in Prisoners. I forgot all about that. You forget about some films over the years. You can't tell me Deadpool isn't bi. I think Nathan, he comes off that way. But again, so there you go. It's woke. I mean, you guys, fine. I don't care. You guys know I don't hammer a film like that. What's another film I just recommended? I recommended American Anthem, National Anthem, which is a film that's in theaters right now. Very small film. It features trans actors, features a ton of gay sex, all kinds of stuff. That film's awesome. That film, from a filmmaking perspective, is exactly what we want to watch. That's what we do. We turn and say National Anthem rocks, and so does Deadpool Wolverine. These other film Twitter clowns can't do that. They can only say that one is good. I'm sure they liked National Anthem because that's a film Twitter kind of thing. And then we hate Deadpool Wolverine. It's the worst thing ever, because remember what that does. That satiates the base. The base is like, oh, now you're speaking to me. You didn't like Deadpool Wolverine, that commercial garbage. Well, who cares? Listen, a good film doesn't have to be anti-commercial or pro-commercial or whatever it may be. It has to be a good film, period, for what it's trying to be. This isn't that hard, but film Twitter loves to do that because they know that if they say Deadpool Wolverine like I did, you're not going to be disappointed. My God, this film's great. Oh, how dare you? This isn't what film Twitter says. Film Twitter says that's fine, Alan. I listen. I'm not saying that I'm not. This is why we stand in front of these things. But film Twitter is just not. They never get it right. They get it right. Their batting average. My batting average is 998. Their batting average is like 123. Okay. It's quite a difference. There's quite a chasm between those two. I understand. Listen, again, from a filmmaking perspective, I like La La Land directorially. I like the finish. The songs and overall commercial accessibility of Greatest Showman is impossible to deny. And I point to this. Anytime audiences know every song, like when that movie was out, people were buying that soundtrack and playing every song. This Is Me and on and on. Every song in that film, people know. If you play it, like the average person's like, I know it. If you played a song from La La Land, the person would be like, what? What is that? Is that the song that they sing when they're on the 105, 110 connector up on the bridge? Right. They're not good. And the same guys wrote the songs. But it feels like, they're like, listen, we're going to save all the great songs for Greatest Showman. We're going to give all the B plus at best songs to La La Land. That's the reality. Now, if you want to argue film, I can do that. But from a song perspective, there's no chance. There's no chance that we're taking La La Land over Greatest Showman. Zero. National Anthem's very good, and that's exactly right. We're just looking for great movies. We don't care if there's a trans actor in it, actress. We don't care if there is gay sex. We don't give a shit. I don't care. I just want to watch a good film. I'm not a 10-year-old kid. I wouldn't, I don't think I'd subject kids to watch things that maybe they shouldn't. Deadpool's violence. Kids play violent video games all day. But that's what we do. We're able to pivot quickly to all kinds of interesting things. A couple more comments around here, Nathan. I think they let the critic title get to them and they changed to fit in with the crowd. Nathan, great comment. Instead of just reviewing films like they did, because if you guys can't tell by now, I don't care about fitting in with anybody. I don't want to fit in with anybody. In fact, I want to be all by my lonesome. As I said, the film Twitter will say he's a pariah. I love it. I will be at the gym today banging out sets to you calling me a pariah. That's what I need. Again, you complete me. It's very easy. This is a really great symbiotic relationship. Here's the thing, is that's the issue. We have so many people in the film Twitter space that want to speak to the base. And when they do that, they can't recommend a film they're going to feel they're going to get chastised over. Go back and watch Siskel and Ebert when they talk about, hold on, let's just watch that right now, because I'm in the thing, and this is a perfect thing. Let me get Siskel and Ebert. Give me 1 second. I did not have this ready. This is just what happens when we do this thing live. I just go, here we go. Let me see if I can find it. Oh man. I don't know if I'm going to find it. I might have to find it for tomorrow night. I'm looking for, it's a great clip from Siskel and Ebert where they talk about how wanting to be a PC is really bad. It's and wanting to, here it is. Hold on. I think I might have it right here. Let's see if I can find it. It looks like we might have it. Give me a second. Here we go. Wait, where is it? There's no link. It's a whole article where it talks about it, but there's no link. Damn it. Okay, I'll find it for tomorrow. Hold on. Let me see something. Give me a second. These people are just copying and pasting articles. This is really weird. I can't find the link. Why would you post a whole article and not have the clip? That's really annoying. Give me one more chance. One more chance here, guys. Come in with comments. We'll get out of here. Let's see. YouTube. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. It's hard sometimes here. I'll just show you. You know, since I'm doing this, you might as well watch my search. Let's look at whoever's searching for this. I can't find it. Let's see. Death critic. Let's go. No, I don't want to see about the death of Siskel and Ebert. I don't want to. Oh God, I can't find it. This sucks. Someone tweeted to me. Yeah, listen, it's exactly these people copy and paste a lot of these articles, and I'm just looking for something. It's really hard sometimes to find things. Let me just go right to YouTube and see if I can find it. I want to show the clip. It's so good. Death of a critic. Let's see. Siskel, Ebert. Good Lord. What a nightmare. How hard? This shouldn't be that hard. It's all about the death of those guys. Okay. PC political. I guess I have to spell it out at this point. You know what you're watching right now? You're watching a version of Unfriended. That's an awesome. You guys, did you ever see Unfriended, the horror film that is like all on the screen? That movie kicks ass. That's one of my favorite like little B horror films of the past. Is it over a decade now? Unfriended 2 is not good. The Dark Web. The first one was awesome. I'm totally misspelling this. I'm just trying to get. Oh, hold on. Here's one. There we go. I got it, guys. Here we go. Give me a second. There we go, everybody. We're going to watch Siskel and Ebert talk about the death of a critic and also these young critics who don't know anything about being your own person. Let's listen to here.
One of the faults that I see with beginning critics is that they try to write sort of what I call a very formal kind of speech, a college writing course speech or high school speech, where you don't feel that the person is really there.
I think he's talking about Robert Daniels right here. I do. I think that's exactly who Siskel's talking about.
Writing into some adult form. They feel, as a beginning writer, they feel nervous about themselves. They don't know their own voice, so they write in some formal way. And so you get sentences with lots of prepositional phrases strung together that don't have any punch, any energy. You know, they haven't come out of the event, whatever, it's a concert or whatever, and written it like a news lead. And here's what I feel. I've got this urgent thing to tell.
And that's how I do it. Siskel's talking about me right here. Do you see that? You guys understand? Before he was talking about Robert Daniels, now he's talking about me.
Instead, it's this formal writing.
In other words, what you're saying is they haven't developed a personal tone.
Correct.
I think that one of the things that
well, they have developed a personal tone. It's a pretentious, unrelatable tone. That's the tone they've developed.
I feel about young people writing, or any criticism at all by anybody of any age, is either implicitly or not, it's in the first person.
Correct.
And it's not a science, and you're not talking about the truth, and you're not saying this is what happened. What you're saying is this is what happened to me. This is how I feel. I almost think that in journalism school, they should make all reviews and criticisms be in the first person to remind people that it's their own view and not some kind of a scientific, objective overview, because there's no such thing as objectivity in the arts. It's all subjective, and you might as well admit that.
That I don't agree with. You guys know I do not agree with that, because there is a right and wrong on some of these films. There's 100%. Okay. There's no doubt in my mind. Look at a film that came out recently. It's called Oddity. It's an IFC film. A lot of critics are raving about it. Let me tell you something. There is a right and a wrong. That film is unremarkable at every level of filmmaking. You talk about a film that is completely forgettable and snooze-worthy. These two drunk guys 5 rows down from me were talking throughout, and I typically get angry. I didn't care because Odyssey was so boring. It was making it more interesting.
I have a personal style, a little creed that I started when I was 23 when I got my job. I know you were 24 when you got yours. And I once went to my editor, Clayton Kirkpatrick, the editor of the Chicago Tribune back then, and I said, sometimes I don't know how to start. And that's always difficult for a young writer. How do you start? And he gave me a great idea, and he felt it even applied to criticism. And that was, he says, imagine what the headline would be and start with that. Write the headline. Mm-hmm. And so I've always tried to write the sort of, and I was talking back with you, and I know we have different styles. Mine is much more like I'm covering a fire, only the fire is my reaction to the movie.
Yeah.
And I jump off into that approach. And I think that's a good way to start. Then I think people can develop a more essayist kind of style if it feels natural to them.
Yeah, I write a little differently than you do, but I think that, well, I know that over my typewriter, when I had a typewriter back in the old days, I had a little quotation from a book called The Immediate Experience by Robert Warshaw. And he said about film criticism, a man goes to the movies and the critic must be honest enough to admit that he is that man. Of course, you could say man or woman. I mean, he was a little bit sexist, you know, but the point being, you went to the movies. The group didn't go to the movies.
Right.
A demographic segment didn't go to the movies. Kids didn't go to the movies. Adults didn't go to the movies. You went to the movies.
I'm going to pause right there because I'm going to say something when I go in and I evaluate these films. I look at it 2 levels, and I think it takes a certain skill to do this. You have to be able to assess it as a work of art, and then you have to assess it as a work of accessibility. And when you have those 2 things together, then you're talking about a film I'm going to have very high on the MMT score. So listen, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. I've mentioned this multiple times on the stream. You guys know I'm a Midwest dude. I grew up going to normal movies at the Northland Mall. I used to be the usher at the GNC. What was the name of the old General Cinemas? General Cinemas Northland. And I loved films like Roadhouse and Gremlins 2 and just all the movies I saw over the years. Cobra. Think about all the Gen X movies I watched. But here's the thing is, because I grew up in that environment, in basic, heart of test. This is a test market. Columbus, Ohio is like the #1 test market because it's like the average place in America. I grew up there, but part of my brain was always stuck in the cinephilic LA, New York area kind of brain thing. So between those 2, you combine the 2. So I'm able to access the cinephile and the mainstream, and that's what makes me different from a lot of these critics. Most of them are typically just in the cinephilic space. They cannot, and again, to prove I'm in the cinephilic space, my #1 film of the year is Handling the Undead, a film that is so cinephilic and nobody saw. It's a neon film, which just by the label alone is cinephilic. So I can do both. Most critics can't. They can't enjoy Deadpool and Handling the Undead, and it's proving yet again here this weekend.
What happened to you? Mm-hmm. And if it happened, you have to admit it. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of critics are almost shy about confessing that they've had any kind of emotional reaction.
Right.
I mean, if you laughed, say you laughed. If you cried, say you cried. If you were bored, say how bored you were. But don't indicate that in a way you were kind of this aloof Olympian figure standing above the groundlings in the audience.
I might be guilty of that, but too bad. I do both.
Observing with amusement their pathetic little reactions because you were there, and the review should communicate what you thought.
What you're talking about there is courage. Now, I know that, and you think about it in occupations, people would say, boy, you guys have a really soft job. It doesn't involve any guts to do what you do. But oddly enough, I think that, the stakes are always being raised, no matter how successful you are in our job. And that is, you have to summon up the courage, just as you were saying, to say what you honestly feel.
And that's what's missing in the space. What Siskel just said right there. These people don't have the courage to stand up to the other because they want to be so liked. And he's going to get into that in a minute. If you want to be liked, if you want to fit in, don't do this. Don't even bother. And clearly, film Twitter's all about those 2 things. How can I fit into my clique? And that gets you in trouble. Listen, this is where it gets really good. This is the part I remember.
Mm-hmm. And it's not easy. And then we're living now, there's a whole new world called political correctness that's going on. And that is death to a critic to participate in that. Wanting to be liked is another piece of advice.
You've really put your...
Boom! Wanting to be liked. When Weber doesn't care about that. So clearly I've got that hurdle passed. I'm way past that. But most critics want to be liked. They're afraid of, they're going to judge me. I don't fucking care. Do you think I give a shit what dork ass Loserville film Twitter thinks 0.
Finger on something.
Can I just say one thing? Just wanting to be liked. Forget even the world of political correctness. Just personally wanting to be liked, wanting to go along with the group.
Yep.
Death to a critic.
Yep.
Take your best shot. I know that this is something that you must say to yourself even now. I know I do all the time. I've been given this lucky break to have a chance to say what I think. If I censor myself, I'm going to regret it. I'm going to regret it.
When you said the words political correct,
but these people don't regret it because they're too afraid. They are cowards. They are not fearless. They will say what they think the group wants to hear or what's the right side of history. There are people in the space, I'm not going to call them out, I maybe do tomorrow night, who go to film festivals and wait to tweet the reaction until they see what everyone else is and then piecemeal together something that's, kind of an amalgamation of everyone else's thoughts. I've never done that. I go back to Babylon. I was the first person to walk out there, the world premiere here in LA. I saw it. I walked out and said, this thing's a flaming fucking disaster. I didn't look at a single person's reaction. I didn't care what another person had to say. I don't have a problem with this at all. I will walk out of a test screen. Well, I can't test screening. They won't even let me see him because Weber might be mean to the film and the director might say, oh my God, he's not being nice. Well, your film's not good. How about we try to make it better? But that's the thing is most people don't have that. They are going to be like, well, if I say it's terrible, it's Damien Chazelle. Fuck, I don't know what to do here. And by the way, Babylon is an absolute tonal disaster. There's no arguments on that. I'm not even going to entertain any discussion on that.
Correctness. All I could think of is a lot of college writers are either working for their student papers or they're writing papers that are going to be read out loud in class or duplicated and passed around in class. Yeah. And political correctness is the fascism of the 90s. It's kind of this rigid feeling that you have to keep your ideas and your ways of looking at things within very narrow boundaries or you'll offend someone.
And let's just pause there. I'm going to hammer on the anti-woke brigade right now. The anti-woke brigade does a lot of this because they want to fit into, we talk about what their audience wants to hear. And if you say a film that is, quote, woke is great, like Furiosa, then you're in trouble because that is a girl boss movie. And how dare they replace? But you see the problem with that? So these people that are in the anti-woke space are almost, if not worse, than the people that are in the woke space. When you're in the objective space like me, I don't care about fitting into a fucking box. There is no fucking box.
Right.
Certainly, one of the purposes of journalism is to challenge just that kind of thinking.
Sure.
And certainly one of the purposes of criticism is to break boundaries. It's also one of the purposes of art. So that if a young journalist, 18, 19, 20, 21, undergraduate, tries to write politically correctly, what they're really doing is ventriloquism. You see, they're not saying what they think.
Boom. And that's what I talk about with the anti-woke all the time. They're not saying, they're trying to say whatever they are about a film to fit into the parameters of the worldview of their audience. Dude, what are we doing? I don't care if that leads me to 10 million views and a brand new Ferrari. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to ever do that. But these other people are like, I'm good with it. I'm making money. Let's go ahead and put it right in that box so my audience laps it up. I don't want to challenge them. I want to just speak to them, the tribal bitches that they are. No, thank you. I have no interest in that, nor will I ever have interest in that.
They're projecting their ideas into another politically correct persona and trying to pretend that that persona reflects their ideas. And that is tragic because what you're doing when you're politically correct is you're training yourself at a very young age to lie.
Yep.
And it's
There's
really,
our society.
When I was at the Daily Illini at the University of Illinois, the whole point, we had all kinds of people on the paper writing everything from the Conservative Coordinating Council to the Young Socialist League, and let's have a lot of opinions. And that's very important. And it's so tragic that at that key moment today on the campus, there's really such tunnel vision when it comes to political correctness that people are afraid to use terms or to have feelings that haven't been approved.
I think the other thing is that when someone does stand apart from all of these dangers that we're talking about, and they do shoot their best shot, they're going to be empowered by it. They'll see that they're not destroyed. They'll see that they're not revealed as a flake, as a phony, as
Well, no, now with Twitter, it's different because Twitter, you'll get dragged. They'll come after you. They come after me all the time like, I give a shit. Give me a break. Again, all you're doing is literally energizing my workout. It's perfect. I love it. Do it. Bring more of it. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though, is that the majority of them don't have the fortitude to do this. They don't, because they're afraid that the other people are going to say, what are you talking about? So yeah, I just dragged Robert Daniels for saying this is the worst movie of the year. Let me tell you one more time why, and then we're going to finish this. The reason I dragged him for that, and the reason he deserves it for that, is it's not one of the worst made movies of the year. You can say that you didn't like it, it's annoying, it's out of control, it's completely and utterly soulless, if you want to go there, if you wanted to, but you can't say it's one of the worst made movies. Do you understand? It's not, if you have a criticism, when I saw Poor Things, I didn't hammer Poor Things for being a terribly made movie. I said, I hate the pretentiousness of this film. I hate the fact that it's a woman with a baby brain having sex. That's disturbing. Those are valid. I didn't say that Yorgos doesn't know how to make a film. That's the difference between, that's why I'm taking out Daniels constantly here, because what he said is not correct. It's objective. Guys, you've seen the film. You want to see a bad film, you want to see a film that's not well made, go watch Madam Web. This film is not that, but that's why it's not. It's okay if you want to do hammer. You better be right about what your thing was. At least be on base, on target. You're not even on target. Terribly made. That if it's terribly made, that means that everything I saw with that opening title sequence with NSYNC, bye, all the edits, all the swords, all that, while you might not love it, that's not terribly made. Like, and then of course he stops. You've got the Deadpool Wolverine. We go that that rotation and it stopped. This is well made. Rolls into his ass, guys. I'm sorry. This is why these Robert Daniels of the world, they're talking about him. He doesn't speak for anybody.
Wrong as stupid. Things that writers battle all the time. You do it one time, it's going to be nervous. You won't be destroyed. You'll be encouraged to do it again, and you'll start raising the stakes for yourself.
And from another point of view, to some degree, when you're writing for the student paper, what you're really doing is applying for a job.
Sure.
Because you take your clippings.
That's right.
And then you send them in somewhere, and somebody will read them. If you write a nice, perfect little textbook, third-person review,
right,
with all of the little kind of niceties in it, it's going to be boring for anybody to read. If you write as yourself, with your own voice and your own tone, if you read, in terms of the great writers, essayists, people like Orwell or Gore Vidal or Bernard Shaw.
I was just going to say
people
Shaw.
Who speak in their own voice, then you will find someone to study.
Let me tell a little story. When I found out that I was going to get the movie critic job at the Chicago Tribune at 23 years old, and I knew it a couple months before, I was interviewing Burt Lancaster, of all people. And I told him, I said, Mr. Lancaster, I'm going to get this great job, and frankly, I don't know how to do it. What advice can you give me? He'd been around, to say the least. And he said, I'm going to send you a set of books, which he did. And I said, what is it? And he said, it's the music criticism of George Bernard Shaw, who wrote under the name Cornetto di Bussetto. And that was fabulous for me to get.
Right now, I'm reading a book called The Great Composers by Bernard Shaw. And also, of course, in every library is Shaw's prefaces to his plays. Read, the plays are one thing. The prefaces are something else. Sometimes have nothing to do with the plays, but everything to do with finding a voice and speaking in that voice.
That's the key, right? Is find whatever voice that is. Don't be afraid of anything. And that's why we will forever miss Siskel and Ebert. I tell you guys so often, and we're going to go just a little bit longer. I want to do like a 10-minute stream. We're at an hour. I don't know what to say. It's just too much. Stop, guys. Stop. I don't want to do it. I patterned everything I do off of Siskel. When I was a kid, I used to watch these guys on PBS, later in syndication, and I love Gene Siskel. Just the way he spoke, the way that he operated. People are going to say, "Oh my God, Weber's like completely not like that." Well, sorry, it's a 2024 version. I'm certainly much more aggressive, but you watch some of his reviews, and he was destructive, and there's nothing wrong with that, but film Twitter doesn't understand that. And I'm sorry, we have to hammer film Twitter. It's so easy, and this is 100% right. As we get ready to roll out, I'm going to quickly recap where we are here this morning, then we'll get out of here. Film Twitter, yeah, they really do. They write for attention. I've never once ever in my entire existence on Twitter ever sent a tweet to get attention. I've never said a film's terrible because I want to get traction. Who cares? The worst thing that happens is, remember when Poor Things, I took the photo in Poor Things, we had Strange Loser Harbors say he's taking pictures in movies. That guy's AI generated. By the way, dude, Jeff, why don't you actually create something that you talk about, something that's current versus your last movie you reviewed in 2022? This is a guy that is just a talker, doesn't do shit. Here's the reality, is that we have people that come after you when you say Poor Things is the worst thing ever. Beau's Afraid, it should never have been made. I don't care. That's what Siskel and Ebert talked about. You have to be able to do that and not worry about the film Twitter dweebs coming after you, because first of all, never took a picture in a movie that was going on. And in fact, I even have to say that's absurd. I'm not Soups where I'm screaming in the middle of a movie and recording it. Here's the reality, is that we need more people in the space that don't give a shit what other people think. Unfortunately, we have all people who do care. And then even if they don't, like go back to a Daniels, go back to a Strange Harbors, they write for that niche group, their base, and they speak for nobody. They do not relate to you. And they think, here's the funny thing about film Twitter, I'm just going to say, they think they're a big deal, and truthfully, they're zero. Maybe zero. Yeah, exactly. If you think Deadpool is worse than Madam Web, it's not even the same universe as far as how terrible the direction is on Madam Web. Quickly, recap on the box office here. Thanks for being here. 1 hour. This is it. I'm wrapping up. 96 million on Friday. If we do the multiples that I went through, we're looking at either, if it does No Way Home, 210. If it does a Deadpool 2 multiple, 220. If it does a Deadpool 1 multiple, 260 million. That's a huge range. This film is a wild card. We looked at sales. Go back and watch the stream if you just joined. And we will tell you this film is going big. It's going at least 215, 220, 225. I'm going to put it in that range, maybe higher. Depends. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it. We love this film. It is exactly what it should be. And kudos to everybody over at Marvel Studios who allowed Ryan Reynolds, yes, Reynolds, to make the film that he made, because this film is a fucking blast. I love the film. I've seen it twice. I'll probably see it a third time. 211 million worldwide. Update tomorrow morning here on MMT, live from the City of Angels. Until then, thanks for being here on this over an hour stream on a Saturday morning. See you back here tomorrow for Breaking Box.